We got another day on the build site. The contractor is finishing up with welding the bucket together, and we are chipping the slash pile that they took out the trees from the septic tank area. The well company also stopped by, just check out the site, make sure it's ready, and pretty much is. And they'll be here in about an hour with their weld truck.
The first 20 feet or so, they use a big hammer drill, and that's really to set the casing. So the casing is a piece of steel pipe that goes down, and that sort of protects the well from any dirt and soil and things around, some softer rocks that may be there, and gives us that nice clean entrance to the well. Below that, here we are on solid bedrock, and they even commented on just how hard the blue flint layer is here. We knew we were going to hit that based on what we've seen from the excavation so far. And sure enough, just a couple of feet below the surface, they hit that blue flint, and that continued for about another 15 or 20 feet, just below the bottom of the casing that they drilled. They said that they could really feel how hard that was on the drill, and that was harder than they were expecting, but they did make it through, and that means we're now into some really good, solid bedrock. Below that 20 feet now, that is just a hole straight down through the rock, so they got drilling on that, and they're about 40 feet down.
Yeah, that's like really the hardest part is starting it, getting it set up, getting the casing in,
Yeah.
and then tearing it all down. Everything else is just sitting around waiting.
Yesterday afternoon, the well drilling company arrived, and we had expected them just to get things set up, get all the machines in position, and be ready to start drilling today. But they actually managed to start drilling yesterday. In the end, they made it about 40 feet down. So all we know right now is that 40 feet down, we haven't hit water. That's not a surprise. We were not expecting to hit anything that shallow. They're going to be back again this afternoon. They've got a few other jobs they're attending to this morning elsewhere. They're expecting to be back here around lunchtime. And so this afternoon, we'll hopefully find out how deep our well needs to go, and fingers crossed, it won't be too deep, and really that we'll hit water as well. It's never guaranteed. Here in Vermont, it's not usually too much of a challenge to find water, but you never know. So we will be keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that we can find water this afternoon.
And this morning, while it's cool, we're still gonna do some chipping to make progress on our slash pile that came out of the area where the septic tanks are going to go.
This is hard work. It is still early in the morning. It is not even 9 o'clock yet. It's 60 degrees, which is cooler than it's been recently. This behind me was about 18 or 20 trees that came down from the septic area, and we really want to get it cleared and out of the way. It is really hot, hard work climbing into that pile and doing that with the chainsaw chaps on, the protective gear on. It's really kind of a challenge to get in there. Diana is crushing it on the chipper. She is an absolute rock star on that thing. We've done 2 full yards this morning, 2 full bags. The support is still working really well, but look at how much is left to go. I think we're going to change tack now. Now we've freed up some of that foliage from the top. We're going to try and pull some more of these big logs out. That'll let us get into the pile a bit more. As you can see, it's a little bit sweaty, and so we've got into a routine where every bag we take a stop, we go and get a drink of water and make sure that we stay hydrated, because it's real easy to get dehydrated out here. And that's the last thing we want. So time for a drink. So many trees.
We have pulled out a bunch of logs and a bunch of firewood logs out of this pile. Matt needs to go fill water in the RV, but I still have some energy left, so I will chip the rest of the kind of slash that I can pull out of this pile. I just saw the well drilling truck people getting here, so now I'm gonna go and watch them drill our well. So yesterday they drilled 20 feet and put in the casing, and then they drilled another 20 feet. So now it's all set up, and now it's just gonna drill until we find water. So that is the actual well drilling truck, and this is the water truck that supplies water for the drilling. have a well. And it went really, really well. I'm very pleased with the result.
Yeah, drilling a well is one of those big unknowns. A lot like the excavation work we've been up to recently. You just don't know what you're going to find. And we got super lucky. In fact, the well driller said to us, you have got a textbook well here. I think we hit water about 90 feet down, was it?
At 60 feet down, we hit some water, about 5 to 6 gallons a minute. And then around 90, 110 feet, it was like 20 gallons a minute. And then at 120, we pretty much got 30 gallons a minute, but we thought we'd go a little bit more because it kind of was going through these layers of like very hard rock, softer rock, like a seam, and then hard rock and seam. And we just had to hit another seam, so I thought we'd go a little bit deeper. So we ended up with 160 feet and more than 30 gallons.
Yeah, at least 30. We measured it using the very scientific method of a piece of pipe and a 1 gallon bucket and a timer. It filled up so fast, it was really hard to tell, but it was at least 30 gallons a minute. That is way, way more than we need. I think he was saying that for a regular well, about the minimum you want is, say, 5 gallons a minute at 200 feet. That's kind of the minimum you're after. So to get 30 gallons a minute is just huge. I'm really excited with this. The other good thing as well, it's not just about the absolute flow rate, it's about how you do that. And because we got it from numerous seams as it kind of went down, we should have a bit more resilience. We're not just relying on one seam that could in future dry up or something. There are multiple seams in there that all contributed. So we are absolutely delighted with this. This has gone so well and so much better than it could have done. You just don't know what to expect. We now have a giant hole in the ground. The next step is to get this all wired up and plumbed in. We are going to be doing this ourselves. We're also going to be doing this as an interim measure. So the long-term strategy is to have this feeding into the utility building, pitless adapter underground and some pipe going into there, power also coming from there. In the short term, we would like to stop hauling water in from our neighbours for the RV. So we're going to be installing a special cap on the top that will allow us to run the pump either from a generator or maybe even from the electrical backboard when we have that totally manually, no pressure switches, no fancy things in there. Just flip the switch on when we want water and that'll come out through a hose on the top, which is all we need just to fill up the tanks on the RV and irrigate some plants in the short term.
Yeah, and then when we have the water coming out, then we'll do the water testing and do all the tests to
make sure it's all good to drink and everything else.
Yeah.
We're not expecting any issues. In general, this area, he was telling us, the only thing we're likely to run into is the water's going to be quite hard. As always, you'd want to have a sediment filter on there. We can decide whether we want to put a water softener in. We will, like you say, go through all the testing just to make sure there's nothing else in the water that we don't want to be drinking, but we're not expecting any issues.
So, well, drilling was a success and one of the utilities is in.